Let me explain one quick thing on this beautiful Saturday. And these Saturdays, they could be not necessarily ruthless or daunting, but it's as if the pressure kind of collects and it could just kind of like, it could just like weigh you down, right? Or it could just be like, it could, Saturdays could just be like, just like something of like a judgment energy, even, or some other energy, obviously. But let me explain one quick thing about God. The wholeness of the soul that's beyond the quote unquote archons, end quote. And the archons are just a particular, you know, context of a being that is in a threshold who manifested itself and leaned towards a particular type of shadow, and that shadow did function in a certain type of way from a different inversion of a higher heavenly reality, and they were just a certain particular type of physical extraterrestrial being in a different context. So God lets these beings ride for a certain time, and He just lets them do what they will do for a certain time, right? So this is why God is kind of like he's quote unquote like it's just like there's like some sadistic humor to it, because he'll let things ride, he'll let things play out beyond time and beyond patience because he's in a different realm of timelessness. So he'll let this shit play out as long as it needs to play out. It's beyond time, it's beyond patience. It's like you're stuck in it and you could keep being in the stuckness where time does the opposite of transcending. You're like imprisoned in time, right? So it's like if we don't pass these tests, then we're going to be in a certain feedback loop, quote unquote, imprisoned in time in one of the Archon's challenges based on how God will put us there. But we don't necessarily know God will put us there because we're a resonance match to how we're subscribing to the Archonic challenges in a unique way. And how we're going into those challenges, it's either because we're a part of them or we're sent to change it. Or somehow it's a little bit of both, or it's a little bit like none, right? So like there's like a quote unquote there's like a disturbing nature end quote of like God because he'll like let this shit ride out, you know. It will just like it will like keep like it will keep going. It like if you don't pass the if you don't like pass that test, you're gonna be in that test. But see, like some archons are so like arrogant that they think sometimes within a certain time orbit, they're in a certain orbit of fixation that they will think they're the only thing that's there prominent when that they forget that there's a whole other round table, and that's their own mechanics of them. But like that's the thing, that's the magic of God. It's because he'll let the archons have a certain orbit, and there'll be times where it's just them or there's mixtures of them where they're away from God and they have a lot of power, quote unquote, a different perspective of astrology, end quote, where certain like archons they're either forgetful of God and just like kind of denying God, which is the wholeness of the universal soul, and just in a clear definition, and and the quote unquote and it's not even about saying archons. It's kind of like just kind of being like intuitive with that word, because obviously that word archon could like it could kind of trigger something. We can misunderstand that word archon, right? So it's like within the earth game, it's like we're on the earth of it though, and the challenges from the other planets, they're coming to us, and their micro agencies are on the earth, and we're in those challenges, and those challenges could ride out who knows how long they will ride out. Only the help of God quote unquote, end quote, could like make us go past that, you know. And if we don't want to reciprocate with God, we're gonna be stuck in those archonic tests, right? And if we're stuck in those archonic tests, then that's a subject for quote unquote a type of imprisonment, end quote. And there's just layers and levels to the game, because you could we're to some degree on a higher spiritual perspective, we're still imprisoned because we don't have like the power to levitate, or we forgot how to levitate. So that's one spiritual example of how the original spiritual freedom has been taken away, because you don't have the freedom to levitate. And maybe in a past life you did have that, but we're just in this 3D game. We forgot that power when we could levitate, you know, not necessarily astral project or remembering the dreams or forgetting the dreams, actually coming into the physical waking reality after the dream world, and within the physical world, really flying and levitating, you know, like a physical out of body, right? So God will just let this shit play out though, you know, and like, and when he intervenes, that's it's still brutal, because he could wait till the last minute, right? To the very, like, both parties, every party could wait to the last fucking second, this last teat of it, just to fucking, you know, play some fucked up game between God and the devil and all the other, you know, demis, right? Some fucked up game where they're either battling amongst each other, they're teaming up in weird ass ways, or they're teaming up with God or going away from God. All of those different combinations is based on some twisted ass game that we forgot, right? Which is just to like reach our own harmony, right? But that's subjective, because when we try to reach our own harmony, it changes throughout time, and throughout time the seasons and the temperaments change. And since the seasons and the temperaments change, that's when the archon, the different caliber of archons, that's when they have a different influence of power and quote unquote spiritual arrogance. So I'm gonna wrap it up because my phone just beeped. But yeah, ooh. So the archonic game is one way we could look at it, is astrology, but obviously beyond the astrology, it's still going on in a different level. Thank you. So yeah, may quote unquote God really be with us, end quote. And if he puts you on a path, we forgot that he could have put us there, you know.